Hey guys, welcome back to Ruru's Rings. If you don't know me, my name is Rebecca Clark, and today we are doing a little Q&A while I do my nails. I'm not very big on doing my nails. I recently got a little gel kit, and I've been using it. I've been trying it out. I love it. The only thing is my nails have been like decrepitly short for the past couple of weeks because they either break off super easily or they chip really bad or whatever. I went to Sally Beauty and I got some builder gel, I think is what it's called. I got three things. One is this cute little nail file. Oh my gosh. It's like this little woman. And then I got the builder gel and a gel like glitter thing. It almost looks like gold leaf glitter. My mom brought it to my attention that my videos aren't aesthetic as they should be because my nails look grody, and she's right. So we're going to be taking care of that today. I had asked on my Instagram story, I have a list of questions from you guys for my Q&A, and I thought I would go ahead and do them while we do my nails. These are my nails before. Pretty gross, pretty crusty. I have all of my questions on my computer here, so if you see me looking off and reading, that's what I'm reading. So one of the first questions I got was my business story. When did I start making and selling jewelry? What's my business story? It's a great question, and honestly it's a good one because it has a lot of things to talk about, a lot of room to talk. So I've been making jewelry since I was little. I always tried to do those rope bracelets, like the macrame kind, and I would always fail miserably. I've always been so horrible at those, but I would still try. I feel like everyone has like a little jewelry making phase. And so I tried making like beaded jewelry. Also not very good at that, surprisingly enough. I know it seems really easy, which like it is, and I can do it, but I feel like the designs of the beads that I'd make were like kind of lame, and I never liked how it turned out. I also have allergies to certain metals and certain things, so I can't wear, I have very, very sensitive skin, so I can't wear certain things. It has to be sterling silver or real gold, or else I can't wear it. And so, you know, being a little child, not being able to afford that with my own money because I didn't have a job, I obviously would have to get the bare minimum and work with that. I never really was a big jewelry person either because I've always had bigger hands. I've always had sausage fingers. I was made fun of in middle school and called sausage fingers by a handful of people. You know, I always had difficulty trying to find rings my size, so I never really wore them until on TikTok, let's say, I think it was my sophomore year of high school, there was this trend going around on TikTok that you could make wire wrapped rings. And I saw it and I was like, oh, I might as well try that, you know, be a fun little thing to do. My mom took me to Walmart and I went to go get a spool of wire and some random beads and started doing this little TikTok trend. I immediately fell in love. I then got to a point where I was like, wow, I really like this, but my fingers are turning green when I wear them. And I hate that. I don't want to look like Shrek or the Hulk. Like, I don't want to look like I have an infection, you know, it's weird. Obviously, I had to transition to something different. One of the things I found was at Hobby Lobby, they would have sterling silver wire. Oh my gosh, I can make wire wrap jewelry out of silver. That means I can wear it and I don't have to worry about it turning my fingers green. I was so obsessed and I was like, wow, I can make my own jewelry now. Like, I don't have to worry about trying to find a ring my size. I'm able to just make my own anyways. And then I have the capabilities of making as many as I want and as many styles as I want. At that point, I started selling to my high school friends, and I continued down that path for a while with wire wrapping. And every piece I made had to be better than the last. Every piece I made had to have a better stone and a better wire wrap, better security on the stone, better secured piece, better durability, better in every way. And so I ended up finding, I think her name's Potato Sprouts, and I saw like, wow, you can make like really intricate designs with wire wrapping. Like, you can make some pretty cool things. Continued to progress my craft and trying to get wire wrapping down. You know, wire wrapping was an easy thing for me. It's easily accessible. You can do it anywhere. You literally just need pliers and wire. Like, it's a very easy beginner jewelry thing to do. And so even though at this point I was saying things about metalsmithing and I was saying things about goldsmithing and making engagement jewelry and Western style turquoise rings and all this kind of stuff, I really wanted to do that, but I didn't have the capabilities of doing so. At this point in time, we had moved and I was doing online school and I didn't have a job because of where I was living. I was a senior in high school. So I didn't have a job at this point. I didn't have money to fund trying to go that route. From there, I went down the route of trying to learn metalsmithing because I really wanted to do it, but I didn't think I'd be able to do it on my own at home. I have no idea what I was doing. I tried looking up stuff and I just got confused. I didn't think I could do it on my own. So I kept looking at schools, and one of the schools I saw was Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, Tennessee, which was only about 2 hours from where I was living at the time. So I went there for school, and I went for a year, and this would have to be another story time because I'm very hesitant about sharing my experience because I feel like it would make a lot of people angry. But I didn't end up going back because it seemed to not collide with my views as a Christian. Hey guys, editing me here. I just wanted to preface by saying this was not an easy decision at all. I was very hesitant to make this decision because in my mind, this was like my dream thing. If I went to school for metalsmithing, I would learn how to do it and become a jeweler. This is my dream. I don't understand why it has to be so difficult to obtain this. But there was a number of factors as to why I didn't end up going back. And again, I can do a story time on my experience with college and why I didn't go back, but it is very controversial. So only if you guys actually want to hear that, because I don't want to put that on the internet unless it'll help you guys out. As to what I was saying, it was a very difficult decision. It wasn't something that I was like fully on board for. And I was like, I know that God doesn't want me to go back, so I'm not going back. And I'm this perfect little golden child that does exactly what God wants me to do. I was very hesitant. I didn't want to. But in hindsight, I am so insanely grateful that I had my family and people around me that helped me make the decision to not go back. In hindsight, I'm really happy I didn't go back because that initially led to me moving with my family to Georgia, and I got really plugged into the Calvary Chapel here. My walk with Christ has grown exponentially since I've lived in Georgia just because of the church I've been going to and my circumstances. And I wouldn't have been able to have this opportunity if I didn't end up leaving and not going back to college. So I don't really care if I'm a college dropout. I really feel like in hindsight, that was definitely the right thing to do. It was what God wanted me to do, even if in the moment I was very hesitant. I didn't want to do it. My parents had to really help me make that decision. It was very difficult. So I'm not trying to come on here and be like, oh, like I knew God didn't want me to go back and I immediately obeyed God's wishes. No, I was very like prodigal son moment. I was very, very not wanting to do it. I was very upset. I wanted to stay, even though these circumstances and barriers were in the way, keeping me from going. And I knew in my spirit it wasn't the right thing. But in my mind, I was like, but there's no way that I can do this without staying. There's no way I can make my dream come true. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Do what God wants you to do, even if your mind is trying to tell you otherwise. If you know in your spirit it's wrong, don't do it. And I'm so very glad that I had people in my corner to help me make the decision to follow what was in my spirit versus my head. Okay, that is all. Back to the video. And in my experience, it was just not a good idea for me to stay there. No, my walk with God is more important than my jewelry. My walk with God is more important than my passions. I knew that if there was a will, there's a way, and that I could go through the process of trying to find different schooling. I could try to save up and buy the tools myself. Again, at this time, I was still confused about like, well, I don't know what tools I need to get. One good thing about going there is that I did meet the metalsmithing teacher who was very kind. He even gave me some of my tools, my bench pin, a lot of my pliers, my jeweler's saw. He gave me a lot of encouragement towards like not going back. And it was mainly only because I already had an established Etsy page for my wire wrapping. He knew my background in wire wrapping. He knew my passions for jewelry making. And he knew that I was very diligent and determined to get this done and to learn it. And it wasn't just I'm just going and picking some random major. It was that this is what I wanted to do. This is what I fell in love with. This is what I want for the rest of my life. And so he encouraged me in a lot of different ways, and he was like, look, I'm going to be frank with you. I don't normally recommend this to students because obviously, you know, I'm a teacher and I teach the class, but you don't have to be in my class to be a jeweler. You don't have to be in any class to be a jeweler. You can learn on your own. With how determined you are about your craft and your passions, you are more than capable doing it on your own. And that was beautiful. I thank God for allowing me to meet him and having that experience, because that really pushed me to be okay enough leaving what I thought was right for me and what I thought was like my dream, and moving towards something that was more in line with God's will versus my own. And it definitely is all for the better. My walk with Christ and my life has been so like on fire for God since I've been living here in Georgia. Again, I guess I moved a lot. This was my 11th move. So after meeting him and him giving me some tools, it was just some starter things. It wasn't anything that I could like immediately start making jewelry, because I obviously didn't have a torch. I couldn't do any soldering, but I could do sheet metal stuff. So I just practiced sawing. I practiced sheet metaling. I practiced making sheet metal jewelry. Fast forward to moving to Georgia, I went to a jewelry store. I worked at a jewelry store for a little bit, and the jeweler there helped me out as well. He gave me a crap load of recommendations on tools, exactly what I could do to get started in jewelry making, and he really helped me on like what I needed to get bare minimum. He gave me some wax rounds to start wax casting, and I did actually wax cast my first ring through them. I did technically start jewelry making then with wax casting. It was one wax cast and it was 2 rings on the sprue, so it was like technically 2 rings. And then that was it, because then I stopped working there, the machines went down, all this kind of stuff. So I had that like as an initial start, but then I wasn't able to do it, and I've only wax casted one time since then. But on my YouTube channel exactly what video I started filming with, and I filmed exactly a week from that date. It was a week from then, which I think is in May, but I'll have to double check. So it's been almost a year from when I started metal smithing. And when I started selling jewelry, I started selling jewelry when I did wire wrapping. I sold to my high school friends. So once I left my high school, I obviously wasn't able to sell to my high school friends, so I started selling on Etsy. I had no idea how to do any type of marketing. I barely posted on Instagram or TikTok, so I literally did not sell for like a whole year. Yeah, so I've just had an Etsy for the longest time. When I started metalsmithing and I got the hang of doing it, and I made my first collection of items that I knew I could continue to create and not screw up being a beginner, I think that was like June or July is when I opened my Shopify. And that's where I've been selling mostly. I do like, if I do customs, I sometimes will do it through just like Instagram, DM, PayPal, but I've been trying to transition any type of custom order or anything done to my Shopify. I would like to transition to fully only Shopify, but I still get orders here and there from Etsy, so I don't want to close that page until I get the majority of my orders from Shopify. One little tip I have for you, if you are a business person or you make jewelry and want to sell it, whether that's just a random side hustle or it gives you the motivation to make more jewelry, or you want to do it as your full time, don't wait till you're perfect. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to get to the point where you're like, okay, that is the best piece I've ever made, and I'll never make something better than that. There's always room for improvement. You're always going to see something that you did wrong on your piece. Just start selling it. I started selling my wire wrapped rings when they were not that good of quality and not that great, but I sold them for what they were worth. With that, I could take that money and put it into getting better tools, etc., etc. So I definitely recommend to, no matter what, just go for it. Don't wait till you're perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Of course, you can try, but you're not going to succeed. So get to the point where you're able to make things. You can sell those things. And when you're making things and selling it, you're just going to get to the process of where you're getting better and better at making that one thing. You're going to get better and better as you go along. Don't wait till you're better. Let yourself get better through the process. The next question I got was, what equipment do I use to film? So I have had a Nikon D3500 for the longest time since high school. I've been filming with my phone a lot more lately because it's just been easier for me because my camera has been giving me a couple of issues. I don't know if it's the SD card or the camera, but something's been messing up, especially with my vlogs. I've been filming a lot more vlogs lately. I filmed those with my phone just because, again, it is easier and it's also not as stressful to carry around because, you know, I'm not used to doing that kind of stuff. So trying to be like a vlog girl with a camera out in public is a little nerve-wracking. I really love photography. I want to get back into photography. I used to be really into photography. This summer, I am going to try to do a little bit more when it comes to photography things. I'm going to try to actually like push doing it. And so my parents got me this kit that was like the Nikon D3500, a regular lens, which I think is like it was an 18 to a 55 millimeter. That's the lens I have now. And then I have one that's like a zoom lens. I don't know what the numbers are for that one. And so when I started making my YouTube videos, I just started filming with my camera that I had. I got the Amazon Basics tripod. I got my tripod so that I could photograph one of my houses that I lived in to take the photos to sell it. I think I would like to get back into real estate photography again too. Just anything photography. I really love photography and I really want to get back into it. Instead of not doing it. I also just got a tripod for my phone from Walmart, and that's been really nice. That has been a fantastic buy. The next question I got was, how did you decide on a name for your business and the branding/logo? I love how outspoken you are about your faith. It's been encouraging to see fellow believers in the jewelry making space. God bless. Thank you so much. I love you. You know who you are. I decided on my name Ruru's Rings because of my sister. My sister called me Ruru growing up like all the time. That was always my nickname. Carried over to middle school and high school. Like that's been my nickname forever. And the first jewelry creation I started making and falling in love with was rings. So I named Ruru's Rings. You know, my mom told me I should do it as like my actual name and just do like Rebecca Clark Jewelry or anything. But then I was always thinking like, well, when I get married, then that's going to be like weird to me. Because then I feel like that would be rude to my husband. And if I married the boy that I'm dating now, which hopefully we will, but you know, you never know God's plan. But I'm praying God's plan is to marry him. Then it would be Rebecca Lee Jewelry, which like, I like that. I think that sounds cool and I think it goes well, obviously because it rhymes. But I'm already at the point I'm known as Ruru's Rings, so I don't think I'll ever change it. If anything, I'll just shorten it to Ruru's. Or I'll just continue saying Ruru's Rings and other things and just keep it as Ruru's Rings. Because, I mean, you know, my main focus will always be jewelry in whatever capacity that will be in the future. It will always be about jewelry anyways, so that's the majority of what Ruru's Rings is about anyways. So I don't really think that I really have to worry about that. I also think it'd be cool to transition to doing more engagement rings too, so it kind of worked out anyways. Not a big deal. So for the branding and the logo, the colors I have is teal, like a dark cyan teal color, and like a tan color, and then I use black obviously for like the font. I feel like black is self-explanatory. It's just like for the lettering. The colors, the dark cyan teal has been my favorite color for the longest time. I adore it so much. It's also the color of my first jewelry plier set that I got. So my logo in question, it's like one big logo and then a middle part that I use for my website, which is like the little icon that like when you're on your phone and you click out and go like to search bar, it has like the little pliers icon, and it's the teal pliers that I was talking about where I got the coloration from. I went on Canva. I love Canva. I went on Canva and I knew I needed to come up with like a brand logo, but knowing that I'm a multidisciplinary artist, I'm faith-based, I have all these different like multi-passionate things, I knew I couldn't just focus on jewelry. And so I was like, well, I want to have like a cool logo that kind of incorporates everything, but jewelry is my main focus. So I went on Canva and I literally spent probably an entire week coming up with this logo. every part of the logo is not my own except the pliers. I spent legit an entire day drawing by my hand the pliers. I don't know why it was so difficult in Canva to draw with my finger, but I spent the entire day drawing these pliers out with my finger on Canva. And so the main piece, which are the teal pliers, which is the center part of my logo, is, my first technically jewelry tool that I ever owned. The other pieces, there's a cross, there's earrings, there's gemstones, all these different things that just kind of encapsulates Ruru's rings and Rebecca Clark all in one, because it has a camera on it, it has some paint brushes, just all the things that encapsulates me and my brand and what I want to be known for. Thank you so much. God bless you as well. Thank you so much for your comment about how outspoken I am about my faith and how encouraging it is. That's another thing about my jewelry and my stuff. And, I've said on here before many times, everything that I do needs to be for the Lord. And if that's jewelry making, then I need to make it for the Lord. I have my business made to donate a portion of proceeds to a ministry in need. I also tithe from my jewelry business. I try to use my platform and my growth in my jewelry and in my YouTube channel and my Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I try to use that also as a platform to share Christ. Our goal here is to make heaven crowded. It's not to live in our flesh and live in our wills and wants and ways. We're not meant to be doing that. We're meant to be living for Christ. And if God gives me the platform to speak to you guys about him, I'm going to do it. The next question was, how long does it take for each of your pieces? That is a very loaded question. It really depends, because there's so many different types of jewelry that can be made. That really is a loaded question. I don't really know how to answer that. A couple hours, I'd say, per piece. It depends, because I try to section out, if I get multiple orders, I try to section out the amount of work that I have to do. Meaning, if I have to solder this component and then solder these ear posts to these hoops, then I'm going to do that all in one sitting. And then if I have to polish this and sand this, I'm going to do the sanding all at one point and the polishing all at one point. So it really depends. But I'd probably say a couple hours depending on the piece. How long do you want to do jewelry for? Another loaded question. I think I will always want to do jewelry. Even if it's in a different capacity where I end up not making jewelry by hand and I do design work, or I become a gemologist. I have really fallen in love with this industry and with this field of creation and everything. I really think that this is what I am meant to do for the rest of my life. God willing, of course. At the moment, my main goal for jewelry is to get to a point where I can make handmade creations for people and do that full time. That's my main goal, is to become a full-time jeweler. And whether that is jewelry creation that's bespoke designs or people order from my website, either or. I really like the bespoke route. I've really fallen in love with that. I've fallen in love with taking heirloom pieces, melting them down, and creating something new out of them, and working one-on-one with people. I really enjoy that. I really like how different you can go when it comes to bespoke design, because you can create something so different from each person, and each time it's going to be a different order, and each time it's going to be a new thing. It's very spontaneous for me, and I really enjoy that. I'm currently focusing on engagement jewelry. I've been working on some engagement rings and trying to make more advanced pieces of jewelry. So that's kind of where I'm going at the moment, but I most likely will be doing jewelry for the rest of my life, whether that does turn down a different route of I'm not necessarily making it by hand anymore or something like that. The next and final question I got was, how can I get into jewelry making myself? I definitely recommend wire wrapping. Again, that's probably one of the easiest things to do, just because you can take it anywhere. The tools you get for it are very cheap. It doesn't take long to learn. It's very simple to learn. And it's very fun. Another thing you could do is just getting tools for wax carving and find a caster to do it for you. You can design jewelry and have it 3D printed, and someone casts it for you and someone sets the stones for you, but you were the one to design it online. I'd probably say easiest thing for me at least was wire wrapping. That was definitely a good go-to. But I've seen some gnarly designs with beaded jewelry. Again, my journey was kind of all over the place when it comes to that, but I got a metalsmithing kit. It was the basic metalsmithing kit, and I got it from Auto Fry. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe $200 for like all the basic necessities. Of course, you still have to get like, you know, like the silver and whatnot to start doing it. But I would recommend getting just a starter kit for silversmithing so that you're not so stressed out about trying to get all these different tools like I was, and like, you know, don't let that hinder you. So it is getting late. I've been talking for a long time and I didn't realize what time it is. I'm gonna finish my nails and I'll show you the finished product, but I kind of gotta focus up, so I'll be right back. Obviously not perfect. I'm still learning. It is 10:30 at night and I have work tomorrow. I'm supposed to be asleep right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get ready for bed. I really enjoyed this little discussion. I hope you guys got some insight into me, my jewelry, my business, everything like that. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you do feel so inclined, and leave any prayer requests in the comments down below and I'll be praying for you. So yeah, I'll see you when I see you. God bless you guys. Love you. Bye.